Hello, my name is Jeremy Melder, and I'm the presenter from Beaming Green. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that this podcast is being held on the traditional lands of the Bundjalung people and pay our respects to elders both past, present and emerging. Welcome to Season 2 of Beaming Green, now available on YouTube or your favourite podcast platform. We offer an array of inspiring guests speaking about their life experiences on topics including sustainable living, environmental issues and human sustainability. So whether you're a seasoned eco-warrior or just starting your sustainability journey, Beaming Green has something for everyone. So join us for Season 2 and let's beam some green together. So, Stephen, welcome to Beaming Green. Now, it's been so long that I've done an episode, and I'm feeling a little bit raw here. And to say that we're now in front of a camera is another challenge, but I'm glad to be with my good buddy and doing this live with you on camera. So, welcome.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here, and I guess I'm feeling slightly uncomfortable with things in my ears, a big microphone in front of me and a camera pointing at me. So thanks for the opportunity.
No, it's great. Look, I know you've been plotting and scheming over the last few years, and you've come up with this U-Butte program that you're going to be launching very, very soon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks. It's called Living a Rich and Purposeful Life, and it's a 4-night retreat, 5 days, if you will. And it's all about assisting people to live what the name says. So assisting people to live a rich and purposeful life, which for me is a thriving life. And for those people that are out there that I guess aren't feeling like they're thriving, they maybe thrived at a moment in their life, but they're feeling a little off colour, a little out of vibration, a little disconnected, and asking questions like, is this all life's about? I kind of thought life was going to end up a bit different from this. Do I need to settle with this? Do I need to settle with this job or this relationship or this time in my life? And I guess for those people that are feeling that, firstly, I feel your pain because I've been through that, and I do actually feel like there's some great options on offer, and I've spent, I guess, the last 15 years cracking what I believe is a universal approach to doing that, and that's what I'm offering over a 4-night, 5-day experience called Living a Rich and Purposeful Life, or LARPL for sure.
LARPL, yes. Look, do you think, we've just overcome COVID, or we believe we've overcome COVID, and I think a lot of people were reflecting during that period of time as to their life purpose and so on. Do you believe this is an opportunity for someone to come on a course like this to reflect and learn and move forward with that?
Absolutely, and I think, LARPL, should I say, COVID has presented two opportunities. One is for a deep sense of reflection, and I think for lots of people, COVID brought lots of gifts. And if you have felt propelled from COVID to change your life and to make it better, then all good to you. For those people who are kind of sitting more in a lower vibration from LARPL, they've kind of had time to reflect on their life, and they don't really love everything that they see. There are aspects in their life that they want to change, and they're perhaps not clear about how they might do that. Then I think that that LARPL is a tremendous opportunity for those people to move into a new phase of their life, to take a purposeful step towards the kind of life they'd like to live, and that's what LARPL is all about.
So I've witnessed your evolution, so to speak, of where you wanted to be and so on. For our listeners, would you like to give a little bit of a snippet of how this all started and came about for you 15 years ago?
Yeah. So I had so I've always enjoyed a pretty good life. I suspect, like most of your listeners, there's been some high points and some low points, and I hit a really big low point 14 years ago. I was married and still married to the same woman.
That's good.
I'm proud to say. Two gorgeous kids who are now, thriving adults, a tremendous career, and things were going really well in my kind of my outward facing world. My social media world was looking good, although I'm not a big social media player. It was an enviable lifestyle, but there was something that was kind of wrong in what was going on. I felt that tickle of something's not quite right. And I had a big network of people, and when I kind of was having the searching conversations with those people, nobody seemed to be able to provide me with the answers I was looking for. In fact, even able to kind of help me to find the path. So I went on more than a metaphorical kind of journey to kind of find out what was going on, and that eventuated in a trip around Australia with my wife and my kids. And I parked my professional career, which I'd striven for 20 years to kind of build to the top. And I guess on the way around Australia, I was sitting on a beach in Cape Leveque, which is northern Western Australia, above Broome, and it just dawned on me the bit that was missing, the bit of my life that I guess that the awareness that was missing for me, that I needed to kind of finish the jigsaw puzzle so that I could step into the next phase of my life. And that, for me, really was we completely reinvented our life, I guess. And it doesn't need to be that dramatic,
No.
but it was dramatic for me, and it involved me not going back to the partnership that I was in. It involved us moving interstate. So we did a tree change, and they were talking about tree changes, I guess, 14 years ago, and there was lots of examples of tree changes that had sold up and actually found they were moving into a lifestyle that didn't suit them at all. We found that as taking that whole transformative kind of period, it took me 6 months to work out what was missing. And then it took me maybe 14 years to put all the pieces together to get back on track. And we reinvented ourselves, and we now have, a lifestyle that feels like it's very congruent and in alignment with our value set. Not to say that it wasn't like that previously, because it was. I guess we have just stepped up to the next level, and the lifestyle checked all of the boxes that were really important for us, starting with connection to who we truly are, who I truly am, the relationship I want with my life partner, the relationship that I wanted to build with my kids, probably the most important relationships after my relationship with Sonia, and then how I turned up in the rest of my relationships with my family, my community. My relationship with place was really important. And then how do I get alignment all the way through my life from there? And it's been a process of doing that. And I feel like, I'm really in a place of thriving now, and a place of giving back. And it's not to say that my life's perfect every day. Yesterday I woke up tired and kind of dragged my ass around for the whole day, kind of licking my wounds and feeling a bit sorry for myself. So, it's not a nirvana that I'm in, but I certainly feel like over the last 14 years, my life has gone from really good to even better than really good.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you're sharpening your pencil, because we've all got, a goal that we're trying to achieve, but it's kind of like we're trying to find where we fit in this jigsaw puzzle of life, and what our core values are, because we think we know what our core values are, but we kind of, well, I find different bits or aspects of myself that I didn't know about very well. And the further I go into that is sharpening my pencil a little bit more to say, so that's really what I want. This is what I want to get out of. This is my understanding gets deeper in that aspect of my life. So I guess that's what you're going through in that 15-year phase, or, well, most of our lives we're going through. It's not just 15 years because you're a little bit older than 15. But, so I guess we're all, being made aware of some of our, vulnerabilities.
Absolutely, and I love your analogy. The sharpening the pencil thing is a great analogy. And for me, I'm pretty pragmatic kind of a guy, and I realize you can actually over sharpen your pencil as well. If you make it too fine, the end snaps off. And I think that's kind of what happens to those tree changes I was talking about. They're kind of going, geez, I'm really dissatisfied with my life right now. And it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They go for a big jump because they're dissatisfied with what's currently going on. And rather than kind of going for a process of refinement, they've gone for a place of, step change. And if you don't have the basis for that step change, you can step into something that's not something you want to be or where you want to be. So I think that process of sharpening the pencil and honing the pencil, and in fact, for me, it's about working out that the pencil's not just one colour. It's actually 12 colours in my pencil. And the importance of making sure that I've got balance in each of those 12 colours. That's been really key for me.
Excellent. So, Stephen, you were sharing, we were camping a few weeks ago, and you were sharing with us around, well, we didn't have a campfire, but we're sitting around a circle having breakfast. And you were sharing one of the stories, which I think is useful for our listeners, about this gentleman that had quite a substantial rig and the state of his life, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, because I think that's kind of pertinent to this conversation.
Yeah, well, thanks. I think I just made everybody coffee on my gas-fired coffee machine, hadn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good brew too. So, yeah, so we ended up, this as part of this journey, we ended up in Broome, as lots of people do going around Australia, and we were just at the end of the dry season, so perfect conditions. And we stopped in a caravan park, and on the way to Cape Leveque, where I had my big awareness moment, and I noticed over next to the toilet block that there was this massive, hugely impressive RV, the Americans would call it. It was like one of those super duper buses that looked like, it's the kind of a Greyhound bus, if you will, that was enormous. Anyway, we went off to Cape Leveque and then came back 2 weeks later, and this bus was still parked up beside the toilet block. And I took a bit of an interest in this, being a bit of a gadgets guy. He had a more impressive rig than I did. Certainly much
Definitely
more impressive.
bigger.
So anyway, I got talking to the guy, and he showed me what was going on in this bus, and he literally had everything that opens and shuts. So they had a spa bath, they had a full-size fridge.
Are you serious? A
they
spa
had
bath? I missed that bit.
They had like a solar, a bigger solar system way bigger solar system than the average house would have. They had washing machines, dryers. They could park up their Suzuki Jimny in the back of this thing.
Oh my God.
It literally had everything. And I was, well, including a desalination plant.
Right.
So for those listeners who don't know what a desalination plant is, it's basically you can pump up, and he could pump up 20 vertical meters. So you basically, drive up to a cliff, throw your pipe into the seawater that's below, pump it up, filters it, and then turns seawater into fresh water.
Oh my God.
And this is all solar powered, right? So pretty much this guy in his RV could be anywhere in Australia. And I thought it was really ironic that over a period of a month, he was parked up against a toilet block in a caravan park. And that really felt strange to me. Anyway, the conversation kind of deepened, and one day we'd been to the beach in the morning, and I came back for a shower just to wash the salt off, and there was this guy again. He's probably in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, and he then told me that he'd asked how old I was, and I was mid-40 at that point, and I was going on this adventure with my kids, trying to work out who I wanted to be and what was going on. I was completely,
You were
completely
a bit gaga
lost.
at the time,
I was a
weren't
bit
you?
gaga.
Yeah.
The big decisions in the day was
Yeah.
what was I going to have, what we were going to eat, where we were going to be, and what we were going to do for the day, and were we going to be here again tomorrow, or were we going somewhere else? These were the big questions in my life, and that was a great relief. So anyway, this guy opens up to me in the incredible way that being on the road can, and he shared with me that he had incredible business and financial success, but in fact he'd kind of destroyed his life. And he said to me in a really heartfelt way, gee, I wish I had the courage to step out of my life when I was mid-40, because I could have potentially salvaged my relationship with my wife, could have salvaged the relationship with my two girls, and having a $2 million RV bus and a couple of houses, a house in Point Piper and overlooking the harbour doesn't kind of make up for that loss that he was feeling. And he felt that his life was basically done. And he went on to share with me that his second wife was the reason why they were parked up against this, in essence, toilet block in a caravan park, because she hated travelling. So he painted a picture of real regret, and I just thought, wow, this is a guy who, in many aspects, has got everything, the things that a people are striving for.
Yeah.
And actually, he had nothing.
Yeah.
He told me his girls were estranged. They wouldn't talk to him anymore. They just thought he was a bastard. He used stronger language to describe that. And I thought, my God, this is just an incredible opportunity that I'm being presented with. And, he talked about a moment where I think a parent had died, where he had this moment where he could have changed his life in his 40s. And rather than doing that, he just doubled down and invested himself in his career. And, he was a company director of 4 or 5 organisations. The guy was worth, millions of dollars, clearly. Back in those days, a $2 million camper van was, it was something to behold, right?
Yeah.
Spending $2 million on a house was kind of almost impossible to do unless you were buying kind of in the harbour in Sydney.
Yeah.
So he clearly had checked all the boxes around, wealth and reward and job and all that kind of stuff, but he was miserable.
What a great reminder for you, though, isn't it? Like, you listening to that story, it makes my heart sink for that man, because obviously he's gone through quite a challenging time, and he's reflecting on that. Hopefully this moment that you shared, maybe he also took something out of that discussion, and maybe do you feel like he had any inkling of changing his life at that point or not?
Any upside?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess what it did was it just reinforced to me that the courage that I needed to take to step away from my career then and to invest in understanding what was right for me, it just reinforced the importance of that. And it's really interesting, as part of this trip around Australia, I had a number of situations that kind of presented themselves that were saying, hey, dude, don't waste this opportunity and be courageous. And I think that's an incredible he was an incredible metaphor for me. In fact, he's one of the cornerstones for why I created LARPL, because um, I don't want to see people getting to getting close to the ends of their lives.
How many are there, right? It's not just this one person that's isolated. It's not an isolated incident. There's hundreds of thousands of people around the world that think that work is the way through, and having, financial success is the way through. That'll make you happy. Lots of us, including myself, thought that was going to be a solution, but it's not. It does, have an impact on your family and those around you. So it's kind of a great time to reflect on that for me, for all of us. But I think, like that time, if I remember correctly, was around the same time that your father had also died recently. And that also had some challenges. So this man had an opportunity, when his father had died, to maybe change his career direction or his choices. But you made some choices there, and you could have gone down that path that this gentleman had gone down.
Yeah, to be fair, though, what happened? My dad passed away. My mum got sick. My wife's father got really sick and got bumped into dementia. So there was a lot going on in those days. And I would have probably continued on the merry path that I was on, but it was like there was something inside me that was just awakening, and it was just saying, this isn't right, and you need to do something about that. And I had a strong sense about that, and I also had some strong indicators that that if I continued on that path, that I was kind of playing Russian roulette with all the things that were important to me. But life has a really tremendous way of throwing up what I call significant moments of transition. It's another tremendous acronym. So I've got LARPL and SMOTS, significant moments of transition. And I think that life does present us these significant moments of transition, and that which provide us with opportunities to kind of bump up, to make a change. It's kind of like, well, you know this because you went overseas after you finished high school. And lots of people do that. They finish high school, they finish university, and they go overseas to find themselves. And I would class that as a significant moment of opportunity, significant moment of transition. And when you go overseas, you know this yourself, you can kind of present to the world who you'd like to be.
Absolutely.
Rather than all the things that kind of you were tainted with going through school.
It's like Facebook.
Yeah, but it's
real.
But it's real. And through these moments, you can, people come back and it's like they re-engineer their lives. They re-engineer the way they see themselves, because what they put out into the world is what gets reflected back to them. And for most people, these overseas adventures allow them to come back in a different vibration, in a new way. They see themselves in a new way. And often there's a step change in their life. They might change direction in career. They might settle down and start cleaning their bedrooms and not relying on their mother to do their washing for them. They might learn how to cook, or they might start a significant relationship or change a significant relationship. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on with these significant moments of transition. And certainly death of a loved one that you're close to, they present tremendous opportunities for reflection. It feels like, for me, I feel like when I go through one of these moments and I've mapped them, and there's 60 that I can identify that normal people like you and me will experience. And some of them will be profound, and some of them will glide through, and some of them may stop us in our tracks. And LARPL is about people that have gone through one of these moments, and they're looking for answers. They're still in that moment where they're looking for answers about how things could be better, how the pencil could be sharpened, or which coloured pencil they should be focusing now on their life, and making those purposeful changes rather than just kind of going down the river of life with a set of goalposts that may not actually suit them. Like, for instance, old mate in Broome, I think what he was looking for was financial security.
Mm.
And that's a great thing to have because it forms the basis for a life of not worrying about where the next meal's
Sure.
coming from.
Yeah.
The thing is that getting to a place of financial security is like a graduated gradient for us. And for, people that are in, Thailand, that might be 10,000 US dollars a year or $5,000 US a year. But in America, it might be 4.5 million US dollars a year. And you have to, the thing that may vary here is that once you've got to that place of financial security, does it have a material effect on your degree of happiness? Yeah. And in the pursuit of continuing to go down that path, are you actually getting closer to that place of joy and thriving, that place of living a rich and purposeful life? Or in fact, through this process, are you going further away from it?
I mean, I look at it as collateral damage. What's the collateral damage for this goal of financial success that you're going through? So like with you value your kids and you went around Australia and you wanted to build a deep and meaningful relationship with your kids. And I guess I've got a question here, right? By doing that, was that worthwhile? Or do you think it was worthwhile? I think I know the answer to that, but in what way?
Oh, you kind of just about made me tear up. I couldn't have made a more valuable investment. In my son and my daughter. I mean, these were fundamental turning points in their lives, and it was a fundamental turning point in the relationship with my wife as well, and a fundamental turning point for me. So, yeah, and that's priceless.
Mm.
It's absolutely priceless. And our daughter is now a pediatric occupational therapist. She's only got trainer wheels on right now, and I'm incredibly proud of her. But one of the motivations for going around Australia was that she's a pretty potent woman, and I recognise that for those people out there who have got potent women in their lives, it can be a bit inconvenient, to say the least.
In what way, Stephen?
Well, they tend to, at least my wife's the same. They kind of rock the boat when they don't see things being completely straight. And I guess that's a good question. So my daughter used to get stuck into me, but she'd also get stuck into life. So she was, she had a thirst for life. And at 9 years old, as her dad, I was twice her size. I've just posted a photograph of her from 14 years ago, which is kind of almost where we were. I could kind of keep her on the straight and narrow through authoritarian kind of relationship and my size. But she was on the cusp of adolescence, and I'd seen lots of disasters, heard lots of disasters about, pubescent girls just becoming a real handful, and I didn't feel like I had a relationship that was strong enough to kind of weather that storm. So a big motivator for going around Australia was to invest in that relationship with her, and now in her professional opinion is that we didn't do such a bad job of parenting her.
Professional opinion.
Wow, professional and personal opinion. She basically she uses her textbook and her learnings to kind of reflect on her childhood, and she recognizes that mum and dad spending 12 months teaching them geography and history and English and maths and relating that to their environment on the side of the road or in a national park or in some desert or beach, and relating these kind of theoretical subjects into everyday life, that made a huge difference to her being able to kind of relate to herself in her environment. And I think that's an incredibly valuable learning, to be able to turn up. And even this morning, I turned up without my computer for this session, and we had a little bit of, turmoil because we didn't know, we'd planned to have this conversation, and I turned up without a piece of important kit. And just being able to be in the moment and just be aware of the tension. I felt like I'd let you down. I felt like, I was just about to waste your time and all that sort of stuff. And then just to kind of go, okay, well, that's interesting. Let's just see how that plays out. And then to move forward and to respond to the situation in a functional way rather than a dysfunctional way. And a couple of dysfunctional ways of kind of presenting the situation turned up for me.
Yeah.
And I recognised that, you didn't blame me for being a complete dickhead, not jumping up with my computer. And you could have, right? So,
well, I also didn't ask you to bring your computer, so there was an assumption on my part. Well, so anyway, that's a two-pronged attack there that we could have fixed by just communicating.
And I think by being in touch with, being in connection with place and our emotions, and then choosing to respond to the circumstance is an incredibly valuable skill.
Yeah.
And I guess, Alyssa says that going around Australia, being with mum and dad 24/7 for a year had its ups and its downs, but some of the ups allowed her to be with herself and to respond to what was going on in her environment, and that allows her to build capacity at an incredibly young age.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you both qualified teachers as well and did a great job teaching them.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's true. We are both teachers. So, but I mean, for those people out here who are inspired to go around Australia in their 40s with kids that are under 10, I would say do it. If you've got the resources to do it, do it. And if you feel the urge, scratch that itch. And, this is a plug for Queensland and Victorian education systems. They will provide you with all the materials that you need to provide your kids with a learning experience. And our kids came back in front of their peers.
Really?
At the end of the 12-month periods. And we took them out. So they did the first 2 terms. Mm-hmm. We took them out for term 3 and they came back at term 3. So, we're not even talking about a clean calendar year. It kind of went over 2 years. And the kids they went into a completely new foreign environment. We put them into school in New South Wales, country New South Wales, which was very different from their learning experience when they were in Canberra. So, these kids are adaptable, and teaching them to be adaptable, teaching them to be resourceful, teaching them how to be resilient. These are massive skills for life. And seeing mum and dad not really knowing what the plan was. I mean, a trip around Australia is kind of futile, right? Because your end destination is where you start.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what? And it's all about the journey. And the interesting thing is that when we got to the end of the journey, our destination was somewhere different. It's like, what?
Northern New South Wales.
Northern New South Wales, up near you. And we were strongly called to this part of the world. But, what was clear about this part of the world was that my career, because, working remotely and all that kind of stuff wasn't as prevalent as it is today. That it came with the responsibility of a reinvention. But the beautiful thing was that the reinvention was kind of on our terms, not on the other terms, not on the terms that were kind of defined by anybody else. And I think that's what LARPL's about. LARPL is about providing people with a way to respond uniquely to their circumstances and to their dreams, and then to start making meaningful progress from current reality to dream. That sounds pretty good, huh?
Sounds great. Now, Stephen, we're just about running out of time in our segment that we're going to do, just the introduction to LARPL or your background as to how you started this. which we're going to go into what happened in the 15-year period next in the next episode. But you're offering a unique opportunity for people in May, end of May, to join the retreat at Gaimea Eco Retreat. Is it the 31st of May? Do you want to put in a bit of a plug for that so that people can go to your website now and register their interest and or even come?
Wow. Well, thanks. Yeah, that sounds great. So I've got a bit of an issue with the whole kind of marketing thing because I don't want anybody there. I don't want to get anybody there by any,
No spin.
no spin. So I haven't actually done any marketing from this. I've just reached out to a bunch of people via email. I've got 24 places. It starts on Wednesday, the 31st of May, and it goes to June the 4th, Sunday, June the 4th. And for your viewers, this sounds like a marketing grab. There's an early bird pricing. So what I'm offering is it's probably a $4,500 value, and I'll offer your guests the early bird rate, which is something less than $2,000. I don't know. I wasn't kind of prepared for this offer, but
We'll be putting that on the website, on the Beaming Green website, and also in Facebook marketing for you. Not that we're into marketing too much, but you will find out about it somehow.
So basically, it's an all-inclusive, immersive experience at Gaimea Retreat, which is an eco retreat up here in northern New South Wales, and you will be fed delicious organic food, and there'll be plenty of it for those guys that think you need to have a good plate of meat to be satisfied.
So it's not just vegetarian.
So it is vegetarian.
Yep.
It's a vegetarian organic food prepared by just one of the most amazing chefs. It's 4 nights accommodation, and you've got a twin share option or you've got a room on your own option. Day spa, massage, sound therapy, and a bunch of other really cool stuff immersed in northern New South Wales, plus just an incredible rich program. So for your listeners, I would love to offer that at the early bird rate, which is literally half of what the commercial rate will be. And this is my first group retreat. So in some respects, we're going to be doing some refining and some honing of that. And if people enjoy what they love, I would love them to provide me with some testimonials. I've run people through the course before. In fact, you.
Yep.
Which you can talk about that. But I really feel like this is my gift to the world, and I'd love to find a way to provide it, both in a face-to-face, but also in a more contemporary kind of way to do that as well. So 31st of May to the 4th of June, up here in northern New South Wales, there are still 16 places that are available. Is that right? Yeah, 16 places that are available, and we're just about to start our marketing process. So
fantastic. So for the listeners, I've done the pilot version of this retreat with Stephen. I can't give it a 30-second grab here because there's a lot more detail than this. But Stephen will, he's put a lot of energy into producing this program. As he said, it is the first one that he's putting out, and he's giving us a really great price for our listeners to attend. And have a look on the website, larpl.com.
So that's larpl.com.au.
Great. And there's going to be a lot of information as to what Stephen is doing. And we are going to continue this conversation because I think it's important that we get a bit more background as to why Stephen has done this. And hopefully you're enjoying this conversation, and we'll speak to you